Regular meeting of the El Centro City Council for Election Day, Tuesday, November 3rd. We just finished our closed session agenda, and so, let's see. First item of the agenda is roll call, please.
Councilmember Sanders.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Jackson.
Here.
Mayor Silva.
Present.
Councilmember Villegas Walker.
Here.
Councilmember Cardenas.
Councilmember Cardenas is running a little late. He's attending a school function for his children, and we're expecting him to join us around 6:15 or 6:20 today, so he'll be coming in a little bit. Mr. Jackson, can you please lead us on the pledge? Sure. And Ms. Sanders on the invocation?
Yes.
Please join me. Ready, begin.
Those who wish to stand may do so. Those who wish to be seated may do so. Our Heavenly Father, we come to Thee this evening asking for Your divine guidance, asking for special deliberations, special intervention as we deliberate the issues that are so important to this community. Lord, we ask You to keep us mindful of all of those who are less fortunate than we are. We ask special blessings and prayers for two members of this community. One, the Walker family, the Don Walker family, as they endure the bereavement and loss of their dear son. Another, Michael Menix, as he's recovering from surgery. And any other person that I may not have called, Lord, we just ask that You would continue to heal. We know that You have all power in Your hands, and this is a blessing we ask in Thy Son's name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Ms. Sanders. Thank you, Mr. Jackson. We have a report from our city attorney on closed session, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On a motion by Councilmember Cardenas, second by Councilmember Villegas Walker, the City Council met in closed session at 5:05 p.m. All council members were present, with Mayor Silva arriving at 5:08 p.m. and Councilmember Cardenas leaving at
5:40.
5:40 p.m. The council considered the performance evaluations of the city manager and city attorney. There's action coming from closed session with respect to the contract of the city manager, and closed session concluded at 6 p.m. And that concludes my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Becker. I don't have any presentations at this point in time, so let's go on to scheduled public comments. First item on the agenda is something that we always enjoy, and the introduction of new employees to the family of the City of El Centro. So we're going to hear from our chief, Chief Madueño.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and council members. I'm very pleased today to introduce three of our newest employees for the police department. I want to start, if I can call up Carla Price up here. Carla Price is a Valley native. She was raised in Brawley, graduated from Brawley Union High School. Carla is also a veteran of the United States Army, served 2 tours in Iraq and 1 in Afghanistan. We hired Carla in October as our newest community service officer. So I want to introduce Carla Price.
Great, thank you. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, Carla?
I'm born and raised in the Valley, and I live in Imperial currently, but I'm just excited to be a part of the city of Imperial and El Centro, I'm sorry. And I'm really excited about everything that the job entails. And I look forward to working with everybody.
Well, I think on behalf of all of us, we want to welcome you to the City of El Centro. You are working for the finest city in the Valley. We want you to know that. And, we're not going to hold it against you that Brawley continues to beat us on the bell game frequently, but...
That could change on Friday.
That could change on Friday. No, welcome. We're really pleased when we are able to hire our own local to work for the city, and by locals, we mean Imperial Valley, not just El Centro. So that pleases me, pleases the council, so welcome. Thank you for serving our country, and best of luck to you on behalf of all of us. But I'm sure council has additional comments. Ms. Sanders, do you want to add anything?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you so much. Just want to commend the young lady for joining our fine city. Also commend you for your service to the country. We thank you for that. And welcome to our community.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Jackson?
I think we're all going to say the same thing, but welcome. You know, I agree with the rest of the council. I really enjoy, and I think this is something that the chief and the command staff deserve a lot of praise, is recruiting and finding local talent for our police department. So, welcome.
Ms. Walker?
I hope that you find every day is an opportunity to help someone, and that you remember that you're part of a police department that has a stellar reputation, and the chief has just laid out his leadership plan for everybody and is holding folks accountable, and so you've made a right career choice, and thank you also for your career service as a veteran. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have one of our newest police officers. If I can have Officer Kaylin Benavides. Kaylin's from the Valley. Her father and her uncle were police officers with me back in the late 80s into the early 2000s. Obviously, everyone here is familiar with her family. They've had a long tradition of public service. Kaylin put herself to the academy in Miramar. Once we found out she was interested, we were able to hire her about 2 weeks prior to her graduation. And then she graduated from the academy on October 15th. We attended her graduation. She got to walk the stage in our uniform, and I presented her, her father presented her with her police badge, which I'm sure was an honor for him. And then give her a few days off, and on the 19th, she hit the ground running. So once she's done here, as you can see, Sergeant Seaman is back to ready to take her back on the street, so she's already working. So, but I introduce Kaylin Benavides.
Thank you. Thank you, Kaylin. Please tell us a little bit about yourself, other than what the chief had just shared with us.
I know, it's hard to compete with that. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm glad to be back in this town. I went to New York for school for a while, so I got my degree there, and I'm glad to be back in the community I grew up in. I can't think of any place else I'd want to be a police officer. I mean, everybody here is so welcoming, and I just feel like I can really make a big difference with my community that I grew up in, and I'm really excited.
Yeah, so again, on behalf of the council, welcome to the city of El Centro. And, you know, the Benavides family is known throughout Imperial Valley. You have a long tradition and big shoes to fill with your dad and your family. So I know that you're going to do well. Welcome you to the city, and hopefully this is the beginning of a very long tenure with the city of El Centro. So welcome for that. Any comments from the council?
Yes, I just want her to know that, yes, your family casts a tall shadow, but I have reasons to believe that you will make your own indelible imprint on this community. So thank you so much for joining our force, and we look forward to great things that's ahead for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, just welcome to El Centro, or welcome back to El Centro, and I have no doubt that you will shine as much as every member of your family is, as far as public safety and public service to our community. So welcome to El Centro.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, no, I'm just having a moment here because I've watched you grow up. I just can't tell you how proud I am of you, and to see you here and to have you come back. Like everyone has said, your family legacy is just outstanding in the service that they've provided to this community. So you've joined a long line of just exceptional people, and it's been extraordinary to watch you grow up, and to welcome you back is it's really a really wonderful thing. So be safe and do a great job, and hope to see you again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If I can have Therese Nunnally, our newest police officer. We swore her in yesterday.
Wow.
Therese, come on up. Therese is from San Diego area, El Cajon. She put herself through the Academy in Miramar, and actually she graduated with 3 of our newer officers, Officer Salcido, Officer Jaimes, and Officer Brown. So she comes to our department knowing and having trained with 3 of our officers. So I'm sure that they'll take them under their wings and show her the ropes here. So again, we swore her in yesterday, and looking forward to a long career with her too. So Therese Nunnally.
Good evening. I'm from San Diego. I'm very excited to be a part of this community, a part of this department. It's very family-oriented, and I'm excited for a challenging career and excited to be of service of the city of El Centro.
Thank you. So the same thing, again, we welcome you. El Cajon is not Imperial Valley, but it's probably as close as to Imperial Valley as you can get, being outside Imperial Valley. And so I want to echo the sentiments of the chief, and that we hope that this is where you stay, and El Centro becomes your home and the place where you end your career, because experienced officers are really valuable to us. And welcome to the city of El Centro on behalf of all of us. But Ms. Sanders, do you want to say anything?
Thank you. I just want to welcome this young lady and I'm just looking at these outstanding officers and these new recruits, Chief. I want to applaud your recruiting officer for doing such an outstanding job in getting these young people to come in, inspired and ready to work. Thank you for joining our force.
Yeah, just welcome to El Centro, and I think, as you stated, we're a very welcoming community, and I think you'll find that, hopefully you choose to make El Centro your long-term home, and I think you'll find the rest of the staff of the city is very friendly, and we're just one big family here, so welcome to the city of El Centro.
Okay.
I have to say this just about every time. My dad was a police officer, so I think I have a special kinship to anyone that chooses that as a career. So welcome. I am really excited about the diversity that the chief is bringing to the department, introducing us to 3 remarkable young women who have now joined the department. I think that a symphony always sounds better when you have a whole lot of diversity and not, so I just think that it's remarkable, Chief, that you've brought 3 incredibly talented young women to the department, and I hope you have a long and exceptionally wonderful career.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And as I have for the past few times, I have to acknowledge our training unit. He's over there, Sergeant Valdez. He puts in a tremendous amount of work and effort into finding the best qualified. We're blessed that we have a volunteer, Nancy Rhodes, who assists him.
Oh, yeah.
We do recognize that he needs some more help in helping fill some vacancies, because we still have a number of vacancies. But he's done a tremendous job, and he brings us the best. And so all I have to do is read it and welcome them in. So
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you,
you
Mr.
very
Valdez.
That's
Thank you
great.
very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, next scheduled comment comes from our friends with the El Centro Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Tyler.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. It's a pleasure to be back to see you again. The Chamber is happy to do its monthly report. Just on some calendar items, you're perfectly welcome. We'd love to have you. We have a ribbon cutting at a new chamber called Upspace, which is going to be near the Big Five. Kind of a little meeting, joint work space, similar to what the city is doing with the incubator, but just on a smaller scale in terms of the square footage things that people would need to commit to. That's at 2 p.m. on this Thursday, the 5th. If you choose to join us, we'd love to have you.
And I'm sorry, I wanted to, but I'm going to be out of town, so I apologize in advance to you, David.
And then a couple weeks from now, on the 19th, Thursday the 19th, we have our next mixer just down the street at Community Valley Bank. You can stop by and say hello to your past colleague, John Edney, who's now the chairman of Community Valley Bank, your former city councilman. An incident came up last week. Our old nemesis, the ranking type story that always seems to come out whenever the Bureau of Labor Statistics releases some kind of unemployment data or something, and a little bit of media attention gets picked up on that. Rather than rehashing what the statistics say, it was kind of a wake-up call to me as a reminder that there's a lot of work to do on building a strong local economy, and we have a hand that's dealt to us based on our agricultural economy and our proximity to the border and all that, but it's anyway, there's just a wake-up call that there's work to do.
I didn't see, what report was that?
Oh, well, the one I was heard about was picked up by Yahoo Finance, that was just a ranking. Anytime a reporter chooses to take the statistics and say, okay, well, where's the worst place to be looking for a job in America, you know, and we're always near the bottom of the list, and so it's just one of those things that comes there, just reminds us that there's work to do. But the chamber's plugging along. We're adding about 6 new members a month, and we're still not quite where we were at our peak in the high point of the economy back in 2007, but they're coming in, and we're happy to have them, and it's a sign that I think things are going well in our city. So that's my report, unless you have any questions for me.
Question for Mr. Tyler?
No.
Thank you, David.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, next item on the agenda is we all have a report that we receive in our packet, as well as a color version of the report for the El Centro Regional Medical Center. Kathy Kennerson was not able to join us today, but on her behalf, we have Rosana Lugo, whom I've known for a long, long time, and previously worked at IVC. Now El Centro Regional is lucky to have her working for them. So, Rosana, did you want to add anything, a summary, or you want to tell us anything about the report?
Just a summary. So good evening, Major Silva and City Council members. You have a copy of our annual report for last fiscal year. This document presents the highlights that the hospital has with programs and departments. I choose 2 of the highlights to present you real quick. I know that our CFO, Alex Weld, presented the financial part during the last meeting. One of the highlights I want to talk about is our clinical documentation. This year, the United States changed their coding system, which is called ICD-10. It was established like in 1981 by the World Health Organization. So for the last year, all the staff, clinical, IS, our coders, our billing department have been in a lot of training and preparation to be ready for this year. So that was a big, everybody was really focusing on all the big change that we were going to have. We also went out and trained the providers, because if they send us a patient, they need to be on board with the same coding system. So that was a big thing for the hospital that, it was implemented. And then another highlight that we have is our nurse residency program. Every year we receive 16 local graduates, and they enter into an 11-week program, where they shadow one of our experienced nurses, and they also take some classes during those 11 weeks. And everybody's seen either clinical and staff that those nurses that go through our residency program are very confident once they're out by themselves on the floor. And that's the retaining tool of staff that we have there. So those are the 2 highlights I want to talk about. I don't know if there's any questions.
No, other than just a great job, Rosana, on, I always appreciate the information that we get from the yearly reports from the hospital. And they present a picture of the health care services for the Valley. But I always appreciate the pictures, the diversity that it shows, and the content, and just it's extremely well done. So I'm very happy to see this report. So I don't have any additional questions, but let me see if the council has any questions. Ms. Anderson, you've seen it already.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This was presented to us at the board meeting, and I'm pleased that Ms. Lugo was able to come and make sure that the council had the full same set of knowledge that we have. I'm glad that the mayor has perused it and understand the value and the work that was put into this. And so we want to compliment all that worked with you on this project, because it's really good. And I would hope that something like this could be made available for the general public, and that they might be able to have a designated place that it could be, and they would be able to, maybe one can go to the Chamber of Commerce, for example, one to our library, for example,
Yeah,
so
it's a
that
good
it can
idea.
be viewed by the general public.
Yeah, good idea. Mr. Jackson?
This was made in-house again? Did we do this in-house? I just always, the last few years, I've always marveled at the quality
Yeah.
of the report and everything that comes out of an in-house product, and obviously the money that we save as far as sending it out. But a lot of staff time, I'm sure, was put into this, and it shows, because it's a great report. So good job. Thank you.
Kind of piggybacking on what Ms. Sanders said, we will be having our annual senior appreciation event on the 27th of January, right? Casa de Mañana building. So if I could get some additional copies. How many do you
There,
print?
I'll
How
be
many?
there. I think last year they printed 500 copies, so I'm
Okay.
thinking approximately.
And
But
you'll
I'll
be at the
there,
event?
participating, so I'll take some also.
Ms. Sanders and I will send lots of people your way.
Okay, perfect.
Great, thank
Okay,
you
thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you, Rosanna.
Good.
Next item on the agenda is the presentation by Mr. Raul Martinez from Imperial County Health Department regarding the tobacco retail license. Mr. Martinez,
Good evening, everyone.
how are you?
Pretty good.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Raul Martinez. I work for Imperial County Public Health Department, the Tobacco Education Project, and today I'm here to introduce my program. I'll be talking about the consequences of tobacco use and tobacco youth decoy and tobacco retail licensing. The Tobacco Education Project, we have been there since, it was created in 1990, made possible by the Tobacco Tax Initiative, Proposition 99 in 1988. We've been here at the Health Department for about 25 years already. We have been receiving funding every 3 years. And we are dedicated to preserve life through education, referring people to call the California Smoker Helpline. It's a cessation program to the University of California, San Diego, the Cancer Center. And also, we try to adopt policies in regards to smoke-free places and tobacco retail licensing. One of the things that I'm here, we have 3 objectives. One of the things, the reason that I'm here is because we would like to adopt a tobacco retail licensing in the city of El Centro. We also are trying to adopt a smoke-free multi-unit housing. We're working with, right now, city of Calexico, and they are in the process of adopting a city ordinance. And also, we have a coalition for a tobacco-free Imperial County. We would like to invite you to attend to this coalition. We meet every other month on second Wednesday of the month, and I'm gonna give you the informational packet. The information is there.
Can you go back for a second?
Yes.
Can you put the previous slide back on?
Sure.
So when you say that the objective is to get a tobacco retail licensing approved, including ENDDs, what does that mean?
I'm sorry for that. Yeah, ENDS stands for Electronic Nicotine Delivery Devices. There's a new products that is going on around, and we have a lot of issues with tobacco, easy access to youth, and the trend right now is that youth are using the electronic cigarettes, and some of this youth never have smoked before, but now they're using the electronic cigarettes.
But when you say that you'd like to see a tobacco retail licensing approved, tell me what that means. I'm not sure what that means. Are you
Okay,
trying
right
to
now-
restrict the use of the licensing, or what is that accomplish?
That's correct. Right now, we have a state license, but the license, the retailers pays only one time $100, and that's it. With this local license, city license, tobacco retail licensing, the retailer is paying from $200 to $500, it depends. And that money is gonna go to law enforcement so they can enforce the law on regards to the sales of tobacco to minors.
Okay. Ms. Becker, that's not a quasi-tax?
No, that would be a Proposition 218 issue.
Oh, it's a probably, okay.
It may be a tax at the end. We'd have to do an analysis. I'm sorry, Mayor, on those, I've not seen this, but if it exceeds the cost of delivery of the license, that is a tax and that requires a vote of the people. That's just a very quick analysis based upon what I just heard.
Okay.
On the information packet that I just gave you, there is some information of all other cities that have adopted tobacco retail licensing already, and you can find the information.
And when you talk about, on the second bullet, when smoke-free multi-unit housing, that would be the prohibition of smoking in apartments?
In apartments, exactly. Right now, we had a lot of complaints from tenants that lives in apartments, And we cannot do anything about it because there's no law that protects these tenants from secondhand smoke.
Okay.
Yeah, people that have allergies, asthma, secondhand smoke is a trigger for asthma attacks, and
Okay.
we cannot do anything about it. Okay. And the consequences of tobacco use in the United States, these are the numbers that preventable causes of death. For example, we have the drugs that cause 14,200 people who die every day in the U.S., all the way to the smoking. People who smoke and right now are dying, and the number is 440,000 people every day in the U.S. So we have to start doing something. One of the things that we are doing is educating our community. Before, nobody knew about the ingredients in the tobacco. I just gave you the information right there about the ingredients in tobacco. And all these tobacco-related diseases can be preventable with stricter retail licensing in this case. Okay.
Are those numbers annual numbers? Because you said every day. I don't know. They seem
This is every day, per day.
every day.
And
440,000 people.
countrywide.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a lot of death, a lot of people who are dying as a consequences of
Wow.
smoking cigarettes or use of any tobacco products. They all have the same ingredients.
Well, it's tobacco products, not necessarily cigarettes, correct?
Not necessarily.
Yeah, okay.
All tobacco products, you name it, it could be cigars, cigarettes, cigarillos, chewing tobacco, they
Chewing
all have the same ingredients. And chewing tobacco, you light it up, but as
Yeah.
soon as you put the tobacco product in your mouth, the ingredients react in your mouth tissue and something is gonna happen to your health.
Chewing tobacco is one of the particular ones that unfortunately many athletes resort to.
That's
And,
correct.
Baseball
this
players.
is- yeah,
Baseball
yes.
players,
And this has been the one that Tony Gwynn was,
Yeah.
that attributed to his particular demise. But, I'm sorry, sir, I'm going to allow you to finish, and then I'll
Alright.
ask the mayor to give me a chance to say
Okay.
something.
So, and a couple of months ago, we did a tobacco youth decoy operation in the city of Centro. We wanted to know if the city of Centro had the problem of selling tobacco to minors. We didn't think we were gonna be able to obtain tobacco products from our stores. And we have, we had some youth volunteers from Southwest High School. The target city was here in Central California. And we got a sample of 23 stores. We have 45 stores in El Centro that sells tobacco. They are licensed to sell tobacco. And from, we had the backup of the El Centro Police Department. Officer Felix was very supportive with this. And our youth, they were able to buy tobacco products in 5 stores. 4 of them, they were able to buy cigarettes, and 1 of them, they bought chewing tobacco. So, saying that, I'm seeing that we need a tobacco retail license, and we need to protect our youth from all this tobacco-related diseases. All this is preventable, but we need stricter policies.
A question on how do you, I understand what you're trying to do, but how do you propose that a retail license is going to change that number?
Okay, it is changing the numbers. For example, on some of the information I just gave you, they say that the percentage of certain cities is high, and once they adopted a tobacco retail licensing, the percentage of youth buying tobacco products went down. And you can see it right there. I don't.
But why?
Why?
What was the driving force?
Because the retailers are gonna be more careful when they sell tobacco to minors. They're gonna train better their clerks, things like that. And since they're gonna be imposed, they're gonna have like fines. They can be, the license can be revoked. They don't wanna have that, so they're gonna be paying attention to
You're
this.
saying the local retail license would be stricter or on the regulations than the state license?
That's correct, because the state license is there just to prevent smuggling of tobacco products and black market of tobacco products, not to enforce the easy access to tobacco to minors. And a local license is specifically for that purpose.
Okay, so I have a question for our city attorney. Wouldn't this fall under the same circumstances as we had with the sexual predators, where we would be overstepping a state license?
It depends on if the state has preempted the area of law. And I've done no research on this at all.
Okay.
So I can't answer it. But if the state has decided that it's taken exclusive jurisdiction over the issue, then yes, we would not be able to do anything locally that would trump the state's requirements, restrictions.
So do you know if that's been challenged before at the state level?
Not really, I don't know. What I know is the state can do tobacco decoys on certain cities, only like a 7% of the stores, and they do it only once a year. And if we have a tobacco retail license, a local one, we can do it as many times as we want.
Well, I don't know if you could do it as
That
many
be-
times as you want. It'd be dependent on funding.
It depends on funding. That's why we're gonna be charging a certain fee to have a tobacco retail license.
Then that would put us, if I may,
Yeah,
Mr.
go
Jackson,
ahead.
to kind of piggyback up on that would put us in a regulatory mode. And so
Right.
I'm not, again, I think that you're just asking us to look at this and give it some consideration.
Exactly.
All right, so, Mr. Mayor, this might be something we'll allow the gentleman to complete his presentation, have the city attorney review this, see where we don't go sideways with Prop 218, whether we go sideways with the state is whether or not they have the preemption of law, and then to see whether or not we have the regulatory authority to do it. And at this point, I'm certainly uncertain on that.
Okay.
I think Ms. Walker has a
Yeah,
question.
what's the penalty right now for business selling
Okay, right
tobacco
now,
products?
other cities up north, they have fees of $250, and then if they sell tobacco first time, then they gonna have a fine of double, $500. Then a third time, within 5 years, again, $250 more dollars, and on the fourth time, they revoke their licenses.
You mean
they-
those are for cities that have adopted this
Right.
additional, okay, but what is it right now? What can the El Centro Police Department do if they walk in and they see that a store has sold?
Right now, there's no law in place, so they just can do a visit, and that's it.
Stores
But,
are not precluded from selling tobacco products to minors.
Yeah,
I think they are.
They are.
Yes, they
That's
are.
not correct.
They are.
The
Stores-
penalties
yeah.
may be,
Well, that's
That's
what
wrong.
I'm trying to figure out. Are we replicating or duplicating? I don't think that retailers can sell tobacco products. I think that there are penalties that are currently existing.
What happened, that there are penalties, but these penalties are not so high, so they don't care. They just pay a minimum fine, and they continue selling tobacco products.
Let me see if I understand your sample size. The students went into 23 stores or 46 stores?
We have 46 stores in El Centro, California,
Okay.
licensed to sell tobacco, but we got a sample out of those 46 stores, we just got a sample of 23. And
Well-
from those 23 stores, only 5 we were able to get tobacco products. We shouldn't,
Oh, 5, not
5
23.
stores,
So you sampled 23, but
23.
but 5 sold.
sold tobacco products. And I have my volunteers here, maybe you want to, just,
Good evening, my name is
Would you
Rocio.
please come to the
can you
microphone?
come to the podium, please?
Good evening, my name is Rocio Real from Southwest High School, and this past June, I did the tobacco decoy, and it was really easy for me to purchase tobacco products, and I'm underage.
Thank
Underage
you.
meaning what age? Under 18?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And Mr. Martinez, I just want you to know that I think that the council, and knowing the council, we're always very supportive of mechanisms to improve the health of our youth. So the questions that you're getting are not necessarily that we are questioning what you're saying,
right,
but
I understand.
this council is very inquisitive. We have a lot of experience, so that we know the questions to ask. So I think that the questions that we're asking you is in reference to us being able to understand fully what you're trying to present to us.
yeah. Okay, but, well, that's what I have right now, but I would like to come again and do a special presentation only on tobacco retail licensing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez.
Thank you.
Could we ask that as part of that presentation, maybe we could have internally our police department talk about, does the police department routinely do sting operations for either tobacco or alcohol products with retail licenses? Okay.
And maybe we
Thank
could ask our city attorney just to check in to see if if we'd be overstepping our bounds as far as stepping on the state regulations or mandates. Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go on to the consent agenda, but before I do that, I need to let the council know that item 11 out of our new business, our regular agenda, will be pulled for, and we'll reschedule at a later time. Right now, I'm looking for a consent, a motion to approve the consent agenda, items 5, 6, 7, and 8. I have a motion by Jackson and second by Cardenas. Please ballot. Item passes 5-0. Thank you for that. Next item on the agenda is a public hearing to consider the recommendation of the Planning Commission on negative deck 14-04, prepare for the 2015 CDBG Sidewalk Improvement Project, presentation by our Director of Community Development.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the council. The project before you is an environmental document that staff has prepared regarding, for the proposed project, the 2015 CDBG Sidewalk Improvement Project. Just a brief overview of the project. The plans are to construct improvements along the segments of Lincoln Avenue, 6th Street, and 7th Street, which is known as the Colonia area. As you may know, sidewalk improvements west of 8th Street are already completed. Now the staff is focusing on completing the improvements on the east side of 8th Street within the Colonia area. Some of the improvements that will be included are sidewalks, curbs, gutters, also repaving of roadways, street lights, stormwater facilities, because there's a tendency for whenever there's a rain, there's a certain area within basically there's problems with drainage. And also there's going to be probably a need to relocate some utilities. Staff prepared, basically concluded that the project will have no environmental impact to the project, so we are recommending a negative declaration be approved for the project. The negative declaration was circulated for a public review comment period for 20 days between August 9th and September 8th. And there were no significant impacts, and there were no significant comments received from the public. So at this time, we are recommending approval of, first of all, opening the public hearing, and then approving the resolution adopting negative declaration number 1404.
Thank you, Ms. Vicaña. Before I bring it to council, let me go ahead and open up the public hearing. Any member of the public that wishes to provide the council with information or testimony on this matter? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing, bring it back to council. Any questions from council?
Just, Norma, if I may, Mr. Mayor, just in regards to a timeline on the project, I was just going through there. Can you kind of give us a little bit of a timeline on that project?
I believe the project will be coming before council within the next month. I don't see Mr. Hagan here, but it's
Behind you.
oh. About a month?
About a month?
Yes,
Okay.
so.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Walker?
Ms. Villacaña, I know that the city has been remarkably diligent about addressing sidewalk issues recently with a lot of new sidewalks being constructed and the carve-outs,
Right.
whatever the technical term is. There we go, the ADA ramps.
Yeah, those.
Yes, those. So I'm wondering, in terms of a prioritization, so we've had a lot of work done, now we have this sidewalk improvement project, and I don't know if this is a you question, Ms. Villacaña or Mr. Hagan, but can you maybe give us a preview of coming attractions as to whether or not additional sidewalk funding projects have already been identified and kind of thought about in the queue in terms of prioritization.
I could follow up with a report on that email.
Excellent. Thank you. Because I know, in particular, right now, SCAG has a big campaign going on, the Go Human campaign,
That's
which is
correct.
encouraging people to get out and walk and to bike. And sidewalks, as we know, are extraordinarily important
Right.
for safe routes to school and those sorts of things. So as we see the completion of that design, in particular around those areas where our children are walking to school or would have the opportunity to walk to school if we had a sidewalk,
I know that currently we are working on the design for Euclid. As you may know, there's segments of Euclid
Yes.
from Laboratory to Imperial that don't have a sidewalk,
Right.
and that's going to be part of the improvement for the Euclid Avenue
Excellent.
street improvement.
Excellent. And I tell you what, it's made a huge difference right there along 8th Street by Buckham Park, where that sidewalk segment has been completed. And so I just see this as a triumph every time the city is able to make that connectivity happen. I was just looking at the roadway the other day on State Route 86, Highway 86. There's no pedestrian access. So what are we going to do?
And that's something that staff, in particular, Ms. Nava, has been
what?
trying. It's something that we're keeping an eye out for any type of funding grant or any kind of resource that we can, because we recognize that that area needs a sidewalk.
Yeah.
And that's something that we may pursue if grant opportunities come up through SCAG but definitely there is a need right there.
Because I was right there in the area by the library and then coming in to access 86, and I'm thinking, no, there's nowhere for anybody to walk here.
Yeah. Especially if we're promoting walkable communities and so
Right.
forth. So is a priority.
Absolutely.
unfortunately.
Okay, great, thank you.
Any additional questions from the council?
No questions, Mr. Mayor, but just wish to let all of you know that the individuals in this particular neighborhood have called me with great joy. They're very happy to see this done, and as you know, this is our CDBG money, and so any additional projects that we have, I guess CDBG money in certain areas that you've identified may not be a funding source for us because of the way it's designed. So as she talked about, maybe something through other grants, funding sources, or either something through SCAG. But the people in this neighborhood along Lincoln, and as you remember, we looked at this last year and we weren't sure we were going to be able to do it. Many of the individuals were in our audience, and now they're calling and saying, great joy, what a nice Christmas gift.
Any additional comments, questions? If not, I'm looking for a motion for resolution number
103.
15-103. A resolution of the City Council of the City of El Centro adopting negative deck 1404 without monitoring plan for project 2015 CDBG sidewalk improvement project. I have a motion by Jackson and a second by Sanders. Please ballot. Item passes 5-0. Thank you so much. Next item. Finally here, we have completed our Vision 2050 strategic plan, and I'm very happy to have Norma give us a presentation. Thank you, Norma.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, we're excited to be here. It's been a lot of work, but at the same time, it's been fun. And I have some staff and also the individual from Holt Architecture that helped us come up with this renderings and the concept and so forth. So I'll start my presentation. As you know, our main purpose, or at the beginning of the plan, when we started working on the plan, we thought, okay, what are we looking for? What do we want the city to be in 2050? What amenities are we going to need by then, and so forth? So obviously, we reached out to the community. Staff attended various community events, and we got very good responses, not only from the adults, but also from the young children. And we were able to combine all those efforts along with, obviously, we have currently our strategic plan that the city has in place. We also have Project Shape. So we incorporated all those components into this plan that is being presented to you. So in overall, the plan is intended to be a representation of the community goals and visions, and that's our goal. Just a brief overview. While doing our research, we want to see, okay, in the year 2050, what is our population going to look like? We reached out to information provided to SCAG. SCAG provides information only up to 2040. So between the year 2040 and 2050, we kind of average population. So we figure that by the year 2050, and this is very conservative, if we have a growth spur, then obviously this is going to change. But we average that by the year 2050, our population will be over 65,000 people. Now, after meeting with the community, having a couple of stakeholder meetings, not only with the community, but also with the business community and the housing community, these were the 5 elements that kept coming up from the community members. Okay, so we need, our city should be safe, and we should also focus on preserving our community. Another comment that was made is we need quality of life amenities, parks, recreation facilities. Our population is getting older, will be getting older. Obviously, there's going to be more seniors by the year 2050, so we need to make sure that we plan for that. And of course, economic development. How can we encourage growth? How can we encourage not only business development, but housing development within our community? And following that with development, the next vision was development and mobility. So in this plan, we're hoping that following the Green Initiative, that our community will be will provide smart growth principles, mixed land uses, which we already have in the downtown area, and have a range of housing opportunities to the community. And also what we heard from the community was we need some kind of pride, community pride, some kind of, be recognized for something. So the vision is that El Centro signature, which will be carried out citywide, and El Centro will be known to be a place where it has a strong feeling of community pride and spirit. So what we did is we took all these 5 elements and we identified goals and objectives within these elements. And as you can see, those are included within the plan. And under each element, we have a goal and we have strategies that we are proposing to follow. This document will be part of our planning principles, and we can refer to this document when we are working on projects and working with the community. Another item that we focused on is, okay, how is the city going to look in 2050? So we looked into the future and taking what we have in place, some of the projects that we are already planning, and some of those are not planned, but it's something that would be great to have within our community. We came up with some design principles or some conceptual illustrations to incorporate all our strategies and visions that are included within the document into what the city will be in 2050. This is just one example of how it is very important to reuse our existing buildings. We have a lot of buildings that are vacant, dilapidated, need a lot of work. And this is just one example of how we could go from here, and this is 399 Broadway, just next to the railroad tracks. If we could go from here to this, which would be in this conceptual illustration, it's a brewery. And we know that breweries right now in other areas are very popular. It promotes people to gather and so forth. And so this is just one illustration of how we can use old vacant buildings and make it into something positive for the city. And also preserving the historical core of the city. That was one comment that we heard quite often is we want to preserve the downtown. We want to preserve the older communities, areas of town. We want to keep that image, and that's very important to the community. The other item, the other area that we focused on was Adams Avenue. As you know, there's many issues, many challenges along Adams Avenue. The first thing that I think we need to do is take a look at the zoning, at the land use, and maybe rezone Adams Avenue to something that's more flexible. Right now we have tourist commercial. Maybe we could go into mixed use, general commercial. So this is just a conceptual drawing of right across 8th Street and Adams, right across from the sports complex, Pavilion, yes. And if we would do mixed use where we could incorporate walking communities and have easy access to the sports area along Park, that's our vision within this area.
Norma, so the whole concept of rezoning Adams to better usage, because I think when it was originally zoned as CT, that was the pass-through for the city. Now it's no longer. So to me, the rezoning to a more viable zoning makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
That's not something that we're going to wait until the year 2050
Oh,
to
no.
do.
No,
I'm
that's
hoping that that's one of those items that we recognize could happen sooner rather than later,
Yes.
and move on accomplishing that.
And that's something that it can be done, in the near future. And I think once that is accomplished, it may encourage more development within that area.
That one makes an awful lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think we need to send this picture to the state of California and let them know that this is the condition that we want
We wanna
Adams
do-
Avenue to be in when
we
they give it
take
to
over.
us.
Yeah.
So,
Lori Berman was at our, I will allow you to finish. I'm sorry, Mrs.
Okay. Okay, again, adapting walkable communities and mixed land uses.
all of these pictures.
Now, this conceptual rendering is something that is going to happen, the extension of South Imperial Avenue over Interstate 8. Obviously, once Imperial Avenue opens up, there's going to be a lot of opportunities for commercial residential development. And we did have a brief meeting with the property owner that owns a lot of the property south of Imperial Avenue, and we asked, what are your plans? They basically gave us a plan where there's going to be commercial development along Imperial Avenue, including hotels and maybe a small retail center, and then housing development just east of that.
Yeah.
So we're trying to incorporate all those components again. Having bikeways, as you can see, we incorporate bikeways into this image. Also, wide streets and having more walkable communities again.
And the important thing is that as we plan for that, to make sure that we acquire the right-of-way.
That's correct.
To be able to have the bike lanes, to be able to have those mediums in place.
Yes.
I think this is, out of all the projections or all the I
This
mean,
is more
not that I
realistic.
don't love all of them, but, this is where we have the greatest ability to affect change because we have a clean canvas out there. And when you talk about planning ahead and understanding that we need, as our mayor said, the bike lanes and getting the easements and everything, and actually just really planning it out well, I think this is where we have a real opportunity to really affect the way El Centro looks in the future.
Yes, yes. And we've reached out to the bicycle community, the different clubs, and they're very excited that we're incorporating these elements now because as you know, there's many issues within our bike paths within the city, and they're looking forward to developing the bikeways along within the city. And obviously we thought, okay, we gotta look into the future as to how Dogwood and Interstate 8, that area will be like in 2050. And obviously this is the northwest corner of Interstate 8 and Dogwood. It would be the perfect location, I think, for a convention center. And this is something that, again, incorporating all the elements into this vision, and this is what we are imagining for 2050, a convention center at the northwest corners of I-8 and Dogwood.
And actually, and I think I pointed this out, Norma, the last time we spoke, and just judging by the comments that were made when we were discussing this with the task force, and also comments that that I've heard from promoters, event promoters, the general feeling is that El Centro is ready already for a convention center. I think this would allow us to plan for growth, and obviously, that requires some kind of feasibility study. So one of the recommendations that I'd like to make for next year's budget is that we budget for a feasibility study for analyzing the viability, the current viability and the future viability of a convention center in the city of El Centro. What I hear from people is that there is absolutely no place in El Centro or in Imperial Valley to have events that will hold 2,000 to 3,000 people. The casino was supposed to have one in Calexico. I'm not sure what the status of the Calexico casino is. I do hear that the third phase development of the Heber Center, where Club Lojo is, incorporates an amphitheater. So there's people talking about this already, but this is something that I think El Centro, as the county seat, should take the lead. So I'd like to, again, next year, begin with a feasibility study and maybe be able to get this off the ground.
Yes. And obviously, if this, once this happens, you're going to have hotels, you're going to have all kinds of commercial development within that area. And all that area right now is zone industrial. So it would require a change of zone to commercial. But again, that's in the near future. And that's something.
And the drought will be over, so we'll be able to have those beautiful palm trees and some grass.
Well, there's a lot of green concepts in this, and a green roof, Matt, is that it? Yeah, he got very creative with these images.
I was gonna say, is that like a field on top of the convention
It's a
center?
green roof, right?
Green roof.
And what about public transit?
Yeah.
But yeah,
ICTC is looking at, if I may at this time, Mr. Mayor, based upon the question by Mrs. Walker, ICTC is certainly aware of this. We brought it to their attention, and we're looking at 2050. And so when I give out my report, you will see that there is a lot of things that we're doing as it relates to transportation, at least in.
Yeah. That's an important point.
We just need to make sure that when we're projecting, that we're thinking, how are people going to be getting around
Right.
in 2050? And we're not all, hopefully, still stuck in our cars.
Right.
Well, according to the Back to the Future #2, we were supposed to have flying cars by now.
That's true.
yeah, and again, that's under development and mobility. Some of the strategies incorporate all the elements, trying to get people to not use their car so much, and more mixed use and so forth. Now, we're also, one of the other areas that there was some interest in looking at was obviously the corner of Le Boucherie and Main. So that's a project that we are, as we speak, we are working on, right, Matt? And also having maybe a green belt along LaBrucherie Avenue, that area where the IID right-of-way is, maybe providing, not necessarily green, but some kind of walkway or pathway where it encourages, because you see people jogging or walking along that segment. So those two concepts we're still working on, and it would be incorporated within the final document.
Well, we can blow the dust off. Remember several years ago when we first undergrounded the canal along LaBrucherie, along the east side of LaBrucherie. We had beautiful plans for that to become a walking trail, bike lane, with all kinds of landscaping and
True.
benches and all of
That's
that,
true.
if we could find the plans
Yes.
there. I'm sure they're in Mr. Hagan's office now.
I think the only change would be just instead of having grass, having some kind of other element.
Some kind of hardscape.
Yeah,
I mean, that
hardscape,
would be
yeah.
beautiful. Again, that the more we can do to encourage active transportation, provide those areas where people can get out and walk and bike, in particular, walking. I mean, I drive by Buckland Park now, and,
Yeah.
you know, all the heartache we got when we put in the pavers, that place is packed and is getting so much use.
Yes, yes. And so those two visions are in the works and will be included within the final document. This is a draft document. We want to bring it to you to get comments, or hopefully we're in the right track, and it'll be brought back to you in December for adoption. But just,
No, I think that you guys have done just an outstanding job, Norma and Adriana. I know you took it to heart, and you were very much a part of the development of this, Adriana, so I also want to thank you and compliment you. You know, just in talking to our, you know, our fellow council members, you know, we are thinking about submitting this Vision 2050 for awards, which is really something that is outstanding. And those of us that have seen these kinds of plans from other people, from consultants that would probably charge a heck of a lot more money, this is just an outstanding work. So I don't know, you're not done with your presentation, Norma?
I just have one more slide. I just feel that it's important to note that we got to keep the plan alive. And in order to do that, we are recommending that maybe every 5 years, some kind of committee or subcommittee is formed to make sure that we're going in the right direction, or if we need to make changes, you know, depending on.
I think 5 years is too long. I really think, I
Okay.
think 5 years is too long. What I think we need to do is to kind of develop almost a yearly matrix. you
Like our
know,
strategic plan?
Yeah, so where should be, and even though maybe small steps, but there should be some kind of improvement, some kind of movement towards implementing this on a yearly basis. And, you know, a lot of times what happens with these plans, a lot of plans, we know people do a great job, as you guys have, and then just kind of gets put away in a file
Yeah,
and
we
no one
don't-
ever
we
sees
don't
it
want
again.
that.
And I hope that doesn't happen with this plan, because you guys have worked really hard, have great ideas. But so to me, the way to keep it alive is, one, review it on a frequent basis.
Okay.
And also, everything costs money. Everything is the utilization of resources that every year we allocate some resources through our budget process to move this forward. This year, we want to get this done. So let's allocate the resources to get it done. That's my recommendation. Regardless of what happens in the next 2 hours, hopefully this will continue way past our tenure with the.
Way past 2 hours.
Our tenure with the city council, because I don't know that I'll be back, I'll be here in 2050. I know Jason probably will be, but.
I don't know, the way I'm going, maybe not.
But just terrific job. I don't know, are you done?
Thank you. Yes, I am. And I just wanted to thank not only staff, I mean, they worked really hard, but also the steering committee. The meetings that we had were very well attended. The community really stepped up, so it's nice to be able to work with those, that support system.
Thank you. Mayor, if I may, just before the council's comments, this plan and your 5-year strategic plan are together. They're all married. And, for example, we're preparing our service, area service plan. It has to be married to this. this is actually, if you would start a new city, this would have been the first document you did. And then we would have built the other ones. So we built the other ones out underneath it for a number of reasons of statute. But this is the guiding document of how our general plan, our zoning, our strategic area, our service area plan is made, and our 5-year. You should see them referencing back to, this is moving, all of those elements are moving this along. For something, for example, is we have ordinance that says you can't build over, what, 3 stories here?
Right.
Why? See, this is one of those, you know, I took that little trip with my wife to Texas, and I went to a small town that has 15-story buildings, and nobody else around, and I asked some people at the hotel, how did this all happen? So the city decided they weren't going to be like everybody else at 3, this is northern Dallas, they all had 3 stories. They said, no, we're going to go for a corporate headquarters, and they created this lovely city of Addison that has 10-story buildings and headquarters and all the things you're talking about in convention centers. They're a city of 15,000. So it's sometimes we want to back up and say,
but then
all right,
what's the
why can't we be that? And why are we restricting ourselves to something less?
Yeah, very good point.
And Mr. Mayor, if I just may make a quick comment, I mean, this work is just incredible work, and it's a testament to our staff and the ability, or the condition of our city, that, you know, our house is in order, that we're able to think about, you know, 2050. And I would just make a suggestion that if we can maybe have some sort of community event where we could share this vision with our community, maybe even welcome back these folks at the old pop and kind of share the final draft with our community so they can see that we're thinking ahead. And I mean, this is exciting to see, and I want to congratulate you on putting this together. But I really would like our community to be a part of this, and these folks that participated is, you know, just. I don't know if there is a strategy in place to bring them back to see the final product, but if we could have some sort of, you know, community event at the old pop or somewhere and they can see these pictures, I think it'd be a big hit, and it'd really show the test, or it'd be a testament to the leadership of our, not only our staff, but this council. So my only suggestion would be that, you know, we would have some sort of groundbreaking event to showcase this.
I want to commend the mayor for his vision.
Right.
I mean, this is true leadership, Ephraim. I think that it's just amazing. Because I get my agenda electronically, I don't have that in hard copy form.
Oh, okay.
But what I'd like to do is take a copy with me to SCAG tomorrow and drop it off and see if they have some.
Yeah, I can get
Okay,
I'll. Actually,
see
no,
if
I
they
need
have-
I need that for
Okay.
my.
You need that for your report.
Radio report
If I can
tomorrow.
get a copy, I'd like to drop it off and see if they have any comments as we move forward with finalization. But again, Mr. Silva, want to just commend you for your leadership on this.
Thank you, Ms. Walker. Mr. Jackson?
Yeah, we've had such a great team this year, and I think our leader, our mayor, has done a great job in bringing this together. I see this stuff and I get really excited. I want to figure out how we can go buy stuff and knock stuff down and start building. But I mean, to look at some of this stuff and see that this could be the future of El Centro, and that we're looking so far out, 35 years out, and we're really planning. We're not just kind of, putting something here and putting something there. And you kind of see that around town and how it was in the past, where some things weren't planned right or they weren't thought out correctly. And I think, we're showing some great leadership, and we've got some great staff. That you guys have done a tremendous job in putting this thing together. But I think the vision for our futures is so much better and so much well-planned than maybe in the past. So congratulations on all the work that you guys have done, and congratulations to our mayor for leading this effort.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Sanders?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to echo the comments being made by the previous speakers here. But I also want to.
So you want to buy stuff and knock it down?
But you know what?
Start building stuff.
When we did the downtown revitalization, that was the intent, to knock it down and build stuff. So I'm glad to see that component is incorporated here. But more importantly, I wanted to just comment on the mayor's leadership and piggyback a little bit on Mr. Cardenas' comment. If we had a budget deficit, we would not be able to begin to look this far ahead. But because we are in financial stability, we now no longer have to worry about that. We can begin to plan for the future of this city. In here, you've noticed, identified all the things we need. Didn't see staffing, so I think that's one piece that we might want to consider putting in. What would we need as far as our staffing components to address the population growth and to address all of these things we want to accomplish? Ms. Walker asked earlier, what about the transportation? And of course, ICTC is looking very closely at this. ICTC is Imperial County Transportation Commission, because I've made them well aware that this was the mayor's vision, and the city is very much in tune with making sure this is accomplished. So we have plans, and I think many of us heard what Laurie Berman was talking about when she gave her presentation at our League of Cities Division meeting about the types of investments, financial investments that are going on. And if this is going to be over on the south, what did you say, the south?
Dogwood.
Okay, off of Dogwood, well, we've got all of that planned, and that is going to become a reality. We looked at what's happening off Imperial, and so that's planned. Again, I think I want to compliment everyone that has touched this, every particular staff member, and certainly the individuals from the Holt Group for helping us put this together. I could not agree more with the comments from Ms. Walker, from Mr. Silva. This document to me is an award-winning piece of work. And it's not at the national level, certainly at SCAG, but I think this is a national level. I think SCAG, and I also think it would be well at the state level. This is an Helen Putman Award.
Thank you.
This is, I mean, I've looked at a lot of these. This, to me, rises to that level. So I think we ought to really, next month when it's finalized and approved, we should start planning for the Helen Putman Award. And then in March, when we do things in Washington, D.C. with the National League of Cities, we should send it there. And Ms. Walker, when you go to SCAG and have that annual conference, we would like to see it go there. Because I think in all three of those categories, this can certainly be a winner.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Norma, for all the work that you've done, and Adriana, Matt, thank you for just an outstanding document. Look forward to the
It's an outstanding.
final adoption of this document, so thank you so much. Okay, again, we are tabling item number 11 for a future meeting. We do have an item coming out of closed session. That's the resolution for compensation for our city manager. First, I need a motion to add the item,
So
please.
moved.
Second,
Do we need a vote, voice vote, or?
yes,
Oh, we're
to
gonna do-
add.
Oh, we're doing it.
So we have a motion by Walker, second by Jackson, to add the city manager compensation resolution to the agenda. Please ballot. Item passes 5-0. Now I'm looking for resolution number 15-104?
Yes.
104, resolution of the City Council of the City of El Centro establishing the compensation, and employment terms for the position of city manager. I have a motion by Jackson and a second by Sanders. Please ballot. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Duran. Let's see. We have some information items, nothing on the successor agency to redevelopment, nothing on the housing agency. Public comments, any member of the public that wishes to provide the council with public comments? Seeing none, close public hearing, bring it back to the council and combine task force and council member reports. Ms. Sanders.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You had the young lady here earlier, Mrs. Lugo, earlier regarding the hospital, so I won't talk about that. She brought you a very outstanding document about our financial status and what's going on over at the hospital. But I want to talk a little bit about ICTC. And this may take some time. There was a lot of issues on the agenda as it relates to the Transportation Commission. One is Seaport Air, authority for funding to keep it going. We're just trying to look to see what we can do that. Also, safe route to schools. Ms. Walker talked about SCAG having this, what did you call it?
Go Human.
Go Human, and so safe routes to school is part of that component, having the young people have ability to walk to schools. I also wanted to tell you something, a new feature on some of our public transportation. We will now have it equipped with Wi-Fi. That's not so much for seniors, but we have a lot of our students going to IVC that are utilizing this transportation, and that's going to be a benefit for them. We have, let's see, state is offering some grants. City of El Centro were the recipients. We won, let me see if I can find the page. I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, I'm fumbling here through these papers because I got so excited about this document. But anyway, we received about $500,000. I need some help, Mr. Hagan. Wasn't that, we put in that money for
For the 8th Street.
for the 8th Street, the sidewalk, was that you?
$524,000.
$524,000, and this is going to help with sidewalks and bike paths, so this is going to go human. So we were looking at various ways to try to augment that. One of the things about that, there were other cities, as you well know, and they were wondering why they were the recipients of some of these dollars. Unfortunately, the state will not fund it in a proportion. You have to be ready to do it, and you have to take the whole project. And they were not ready. And this is what happens in some of our smaller communities. So the local entity will now have some grants, some ag benefit plans for design and county things, and so I thought that we might be able to look at some of those ag benefit plans. This was brought forward by Supervisor Kelly and Supervisor Terrazas, so I thought that might be something we could look forward to capturing if possible. And as we were at the, excuse me, as we were at the League of Cities Division meeting, Lori Berman, was there, and she gave quite a comprehensive report on all of the dollars and cents that will be utilized to invest in this region, starting with Interstate 8 and all the way through to Brawley. Another thing that was asked about was the call boxes. We had the we talked about call boxes, and call boxes are still going to be available on Interstate 8 and 86. We've had a lot of damage to these boxes. We don't know why people get out, and I guess they get angry if they're lost and they just hang up the phone or just trash it. But anyway, we're fixing those boxes so people will still have access to it. That completes the report, and I have all of that here if you would like to read it more thoroughly.
Thank you, Ms. Sanders. Mr. Jackson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple things. It's been a busy last couple weeks, and I think a very great time for the city as far as we all attended the groundbreaking for El Centro's Medical Plaza building, a long time coming, and it's going to be a great building. So we did that. Later that day, we had the Molina Healthcare. That was a crazy day. We had the Molina Healthcare luncheon, and they recognized some of our local champions. That I thought that was a very well put together event, and I think look forward to that. That's going to be an annual thing that they're going to do down here. So it's good to see Molina get so involved with the community and support the community. Let's see, we had the Fall Festival. That's a great annual event that takes part every year. And then we had our first annual Day of the Dead event. And I thought that,
Went well.
it's always, the first one's always the hardest to get off the ground. And I thought, it came off really well. I had a lot of fun with it. I got my face painted and and then went up to, and then scared Cheryl up at the League of Cities dinner up in Brawley. But I figured I'd take a prop with me since we were bragging about El Centro. We're the only city in the city in Imperial County that has a Day of the Dead festival. So, so it's been a great last couple of weeks, and hopefully, God willing, in an hour or so we'll keep it going.
All right.
Absolutely.
Ms. Walker?
With regard to SCAG, I'll be going to our monthly regional meeting on Thursday. And the Go Human campaign is really in full swing. It's encouraging people to get out and bike and walk. I guess I would be bike. What they've done is they've taken street signs and substituted in people, so that if you're a motorist, you understand that, oh yeah, I need to be careful, slow down, and be on guard for alternative transportation. So that's pretty cool. At the December meeting at SCAG, we're going to be releasing the RTP, Regional Transportation Plan, Sustainable Community Strategy for comment. So there's a comment period. It'll come back for finalization in April. At the January meeting of SCAG, if you have an opportunity, that's going to be our economic summit. You know, SCAG over the last 6 years has really focused on poverty in this region, and what are some of the things that we can do to maybe address the fact that the income inequality is pretty devastating to a lot of our folks. So
What day is that?
it's going to be the first Thursday in January. I believe it's the 7th of January in Los Angeles. So if you have time for a meeting of SCAG, I would definitely suggest a January meeting. I was hoping, and I apologize, I missed the last city council meeting, so if this has already been addressed, if we could get an update on what the city is planning with regard to an El Nino event, if we are starting to make plans that if we are confronted with
100-year flood.
the 100-year flood, what do we plan to do about it? What kind of actions are we taking in advance to be prepared?
Well,
Okay.
at the last, I thought Mr. Hagan had said that they were.
I mean, above and beyond just cleaning out
yeah.
the storm
No,
drains,
it's
because,
cleaning the storm drains, that's a start.
well, I mean, how is the police department gonna be ready? How is the fire department gonna be ready? I mean, we know that when we get those flood events, Broadway is underwater, we lose a big portion of our streetlights and all kinds of things. So just bringing together how we're ready to, activate resources in the event of El Nino gets here. Skate park, I think all of us have expressed concerns with different issues, and is there a report coming back to council on the skate park?
Let's do that for next time, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't want to be burdening staff with a whole bunch of stuff, but at some point, if we could get a report back on skate park. Attended many of the same meetings that have been previously discussed, as well as on the 23rd of October, I was present while we were hammering out the management agreement between the City of El Centro and UC San Diego Health System. I want to thank the city attorney for participating telephonically. We now are exchanging drafts, and we hope to probably have that back first meeting in December. That's the plan. Okay. I will not be present at the meeting on the 17th. I'm going to a conference in Los Angeles on the California Area Agency on Aging Association. So I will be not present here, but I have asked.
Did we meet the next day?
I'm sorry? C4A, California Area Agency on Aging Association. It's kind of the advocacy group for AAAs. But at the meeting on the 17th, Jeff Dale will be here to talk about Seaport Air, and I just hope that we get some really good commitments from Seaport on what they're going to do to bring ridership up. Because I remain convinced that if we lose a central air service for this community, it will not come back. So.
Mr. Cardenas?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just real quickly, I'll be going to the National Leagues of Cities convention event in Nashville, so I'll be leaving to Nashville here in about 6 to 8 hours. I want to thank. 6
to 8 hours?
Yeah, well,
Midnight?
I leave my flight leaves at 6 a.m. out of San Diego, so. I do want to thank Ruben. I actually sat down with Mr. Duran. He gave me a little orientation, then I received a little bit of mentorship from Councilmember Sanders, as I'll be representing you as a delegate. So very excited
screw it
about
up.
that. Yeah, I know. I'll be by myself, so I had some good
have
some
some,
good teaching there.
No
I
people
have some
there?
papers.
Yeah, I know.
They will report
know
back to
people.
us.
Yeah. So I'm ready to go, Mayor, and I thank you again for nominating
I
me.
have a document here.
All
for
right,
you.
fair enough. Also, just wanted to share at the League of Cities, council member, or our Mayor Pro Tem, Jason Jackson, actually made a great comment during the bragging rights and basically said how wonderful we work as in terms of our council. So I did want to recognize his comment. And think it was very nice, and what he said at the League of City dinner, and just kind of showcase a little bit about what our council does. Also wanted just to follow up on the reports that we received from Liz. They're very, very informative, and to piggyback a little bit on what Councilmember Walker was talking about the skate park, I saw that as far as community outreach, that our police force is actually out attending the skate park, reaching out to kids, talking to kids at the skate park. And so part of their community outreach is that they do actually go there pretty regularly, and I want to thank our chief. There's also a section there on just EMS transport times, and I know our fire chief's here as well. I mean, pretty incredible. 240 incidents in the month of, I believe it's October, 240 incidents in the month of October. Over 95% of those were responded within 10 minutes. And so it's a testament to our local EMS and to our public safety. I just wish we can do maybe a little bit better job in just showcasing this, because this is really good information. I appreciate council or our staff putting this together, but
Is it on our Facebook page?
you know, it's, I don't know, but I know this is the packet that we received from Liz, and just incredible stuff that's on there.
Monthly report.
Yeah, monthly
Yeah,
report.
but I mean, are we sharing the,
It's on Facebook. She said it was on Facebook.
It is.
okay.
We put up quite a bit of information up there, so I always have to catch up with my own staff on this, because we post as, everything the council gets, we really try to keep it out
This
to
was
the public.
council's briefings. She listed
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Just really good stuff. Just really proud of our city, proud of our council, and I'll see you guys in about a week.
But don't leave before you get to this, and I'll go over it with
Till you get
you.
your instructions on
Yeah.
it.
And my lunch.
I just want to say, welcome back to our city manager. Seems like we haven't seen you forever, but it's nice to have you back.
I'm here with the miracle of technology right now.
Whatever gets you here.
Okay.
Thank you. I attended the hospital groundbreaking, great event, the Molina Healthcare recognition. I think that was wonderful too. I want to just spend a couple of seconds on the Dia de los Muertos celebration that we hosted, and thank you, Mr. Jackson, for attending. It was successful beyond my expectation.
Yeah, we attended
it was
too.
beautiful.
We
Yes,
were
we
just there a
did.
little early.
Yes. We saw you walking across the parking lot, trying to put your coat on as your tie was flapping in the wind.
But I sent you guys a picture of the altar. That was
Yes.
just beautiful. Comments that I heard from people that know about the historical and the cultural significance of this, said that that was one of the most beautiful altars that they have seen. Well-attended, packed house, recurring people going in and out. The music that we had, sorry you guys didn't get to hear them, but they were just outstanding musicians
Did you hear some of it?
that played
We
for
all
us.
missed it.
You know, there's excitement. People are wanting to know if we're going to do this again next year, and I think the answer hopefully will be yes, and it's going to grow. I think it's going to grow at a faster pace than El Grito grew, because there's just, again, a lot of excitement. The face painting was a total success, and
That was cool.
Mr. Jackson is a testimony of how well it was done.
Oh, his face was painted?
Yeah.
I didn't recognize.
You know.
He thought
Somebody-
that's the way you
Some thought it
always
was an
look.
improvement.
Yeah, somebody told me that it
Yeah.
was an improvement, Mr. Jackson. We had a pack house at the old post office pavilion. Children, parents, grandparents. It was just a great day. You know, thank you, staff, Marcela Piedra and her staff, and Deborah and everybody that helped out put this together. But this event is just going to grow and grow and grow. And we'll be like the ones in San Diego and LA and other areas. So very, very good job. We were very happy to that. And that's the reason why I missed the league dinner. Best of luck to my colleagues to my right. I hope that our voters recognize the work that we've done, and that we are able to come back and continue working on improving the quality of life for our residents. And meeting is adjourned. And thank you for coming.